Well, today I'm fortunate enough to sit down with the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Randy Ambrosie. Randy, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with me this afternoon.
No, it's great to be here. Thanks very much.
Before your playing days in the CFL, you played a lot of hockey. I heard you idolized Bobby Orr growing up. So can you tell me a little bit about your childhood in Manitoba?
Yeah, I grew up, my mom and dad, three brothers. We were kind of played all sports, but we were passionate hockey players for most of our childhood. And I played AAA midget hockey and was asked to go play in the Western Hockey League. But at that point, I got bit by the football bug and took a different path. But we were a family that kind of did all sports. My brothers and I were super active. In fact, I wasn't a very good student for many of those years, and part was I think I spent a lot of my time kind of daydreaming and drawing pictures of my favorite hockey players. So I'm glad I got that fixed later in my educational career. But I was a huge Bobby Orr fan.
Well, you must have also, grown up in Winnipeg, enjoyed the Jets' playoff run this past year. But you mentioned your brothers, three brothers. It must have been a hectic household at times. I even heard a story about a famous quilt. Do you care to expand on that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think my brothers and I knew my mom was a girl till we got to college. It was a high testosterone environment, and we were physical. So I'm not exactly a small guy. My brothers are all big guys, and we did a lot. But my grandmother, so I'm of Ukrainian heritage, and my grandmother, my mom's mom, made a quilt for us, and it was a farm quilt, and it was super thick, and we called it the Big Beast. And basically the game was that somebody went underneath the Big Beast, and the guys could throw punches at you because the quilt was super thick. And you would throw punches at the guy underneath, but occasionally what would happen is the quilt would slip and you'd get one right in the puss, and then Mom would have to interject because there'd be blood everywhere. But that was kind of the household we had. There was lots of love in that house, but it was a physical brand of love that we showed one another.
Well, I have an older brother too, so I know what that's all about. But fast forward, you and your wife Barb, you have three daughters. So tell me a little bit about those different dynamics and how they've helped shape you become the man you are today.
Yeah, I think the girls have made a huge contribution to who I am, and certainly Barb has as well. Barb and I were best friends in high school. We've known each other since we were kids. The girls and Barb and the girls have really shaped, I think a better part of me. Learning to understand how the girls think about things. I'll tell you a funny story. When we went back to Winnipeg after I retired. And my oldest daughter, Alice, was quite young at the time, and Barb sent us downstairs to clean up the toy room. And I was cleaning up with Alice, and then she ran upstairs in tears. And I stayed downstairs because I knew something had gone wrong. I didn't know what it was. And Barb comes down a few minutes later. She had calmed Alice down, and she came down and she said, "So, what were you guys doing?" I said, "Well, we were cleaning up." She says, "Well, just cleaning up?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, just for example, how were you cleaning up?" And I said, "Well, we were putting the toys in the bins." She said, "Putting the toys in the bins?" I said, "Well, we were tossing them in." She said, "Tossing them in the bins?" I said, "Well, I was practicing banking the dolls off the wall." And she says, "Yeah, those are her babies. You do not toss them against the wall into the bin." So, again, one of those moments where growing up with three brothers didn't exactly leave me with the greatest amount of sensitivity. But I've learned to appreciate the way the girls think about things. I do think they've made me a better person, and I hope that's true. And I wouldn't change my life for anything. Having three amazing daughters and a beautiful wife that I love as much as ever in my life I think that's been my greatest success.
Well, shifting the focus back to football now, Randy. Let's talk a little bit about your career in the CFL. You were the second overall pick. You spent some time with the Stamps, then with the Argos, and you finished your career with Edmonton, where you won the Grey Cup. So how much fun did you have playing in the Canadian Football League?
Yeah, it was, it's one of those times in your life you can't replace it. It's so unique, and you wake up I've had a successful college career, and then remember that draft day, the morning when I got a phone call that I'd been the second pick overall by the Stamps, and how that felt. And then you go to training camp and it's a whole other world. Like, you think the game is fast when you're playing in college, and all of a sudden you show up at a CFL training camp, and man, these, first of all, they're men. Like, you've been playing with your college teammates, but some of these guys had 3 and 4 kids, and it's like you're transported into a different world. The intensity was incredible. But there's an underlying joy in the game. There's the way the players, a locker room, as I know the locker room is a special place, and there's a lot of fun happens in there. It's like adult daycare, really, in so many ways, and it's one of the reasons when you talk to players who've retired, they'll often say they don't really miss the game itself, but they miss the locker room, they miss their teammates, and so for so many reasons that I will always remember what it was like to be around something. Like, these were world-class athletes, remarkably good people, but man, did we have fun. And you're on the road, you're traveling, you're doing things together. There's a brotherhood that's part of being on a team. Again, you just have nothing but great memories of that time.
Well, after your playing career, you had quite the career in the business world as well. You were president of a company, head of sales of a company, and CEO of an investment firm. But did you always think, maybe in the back of your mind, that you would one day return to the game of football?
Really, the answer was no. I mean, it's like so many people, once you're in an industry and you're having success in it, you kind of just assume that you'll stay on that path, and at some point you'll make hopefully, a graceful exit out of a business that was good to you. That business, the investment business, certainly was very kind to me. I had a chance to work with amazing people, many of whom I consider to be great friends to this day, and lifetime friends. Those things were special, but when this happened, the timing was perfect. We had done a transaction to sell our firm, and I was just contemplating, what I might do next when the CFL called, and it's almost the perfect definition of serendipity. Like, that moment just happened, and I got the call. And when I asked Barb and the girls, we talked about it. It was like almost in unison, everyone said, "Yeah, that's the thing that you should do." It hadn't been on my mind, but the opportunity to come back and use all that I had learned in my business career, and of course my life as a player, allowed me to come in and get up to speed fairly quickly and be part of this great league.
Well, exactly. You have the business savvy as well as the athletic experience. So I think the CFL is in great hands with you, Randy. And speaking about the league, we're about to enter week 6. How strong do you feel about the state of the league at this very moment?
Yeah, I feel very good about where we are, but I think we can do more, way more. And, I've used the expression bigger and stronger has to be the way we think. I have, my observation is that I've got 9 great partners. The lead governors, the owners are amazing people. They have great aspirations. I think we have found a way to work with one another that I'm really excited about. I think we're all looking at a vision for where we can go to grow the game, make the league stronger, make the league bigger. There's lots of opportunities to expand our reach and have more kids playing the game of football. Part of my optimism and confidence is built on the fact that I don't think there's a better game in the world, because it's so unique. You can take a kid, tall, short, wide, thin, fast, and slow, and there's a place on a football field for all of those kids. Show me a sport in the world that has that profile. In fact, this year we'll have an all-star. I'm quite sure we'll have an all-star who will be 6'7", 6'8", maybe almost 345 pounds, and we'll have an all-star that will be 5'7", maybe 180 pounds or 170 pounds. Show me a sport in the world where you will have that diversity of success. And I think that that's important at a time when kids are looking to establish an identity, and so often kids can get marginalized. football is inclusive in a very special and very unique way. I didn't start playing football till I was 15. You couldn't be a 15-year-old trying to get into hockey, never having played a down of hockey or never played a game of hockey. At 15, you couldn't step into hockey and have success like that. But football, you can. And the coaches can say, okay, look, here's how you can contribute to the team. And I hear those stories, and I know my own personal story, and it's on that foundation I think the future rests. We have to do a better job of telling that story to the Canadian public, but I think fundamentally if you marry that with a great league, the future is very bright.
Now, Randy, there's always going to be those people, those naysayers against the CFL that just are hesitant to hop on board with the product. So what do you say to those individuals, and how do you encourage them to either watch the games on TV or even attend them live?
Yeah, I think they're like no sport as captures everyone's heart. I mean, we just saw a tremendous World Cup, and I can tell you that I love it because I'm a fan of sport. But not everybody watched the World Cup. So there's naysayers in soccer. There's naysayers in hockey. You know, for us, I think we just welcome people in. We invite them in, and we have to show them an experience in different ways. So we're doing our concert series Thursday night, and the way we've energized the Thursday night program, the rec laws, the song. You find different ways to get people to capture them, to take a look at you. You do. We're going to do a family day game. In fact, the first one Saturday night in Toronto, and that's designed to invite families to come and be part of a game experience. And then what you want is when they turn their head onto the field, and they see these world-class athletes. You see these men who play the game so passionately with such amazing skill. You think, well, okay, if you can just get them there to give you a look, maybe they come for the Thursday night song and they stay for 5 minutes and they go, wow, that was a great catch or a great play, and before you know it, they're staying for 6 or 7 the next time. We're doing live miking on our Friday night games. Why? Because we think that adds an element to how the game gets played. It's different than what other leagues do. It creates you hope. Somebody thinks, well, isn't that cool? You're actually listening to the quarterback, call the plays right at the line of scrimmage. We've got the officials with mic'd up, and we've got the officials with a camera. Shows a different perspective. What we're learning is you try all manner of different ways. You show people the personality side of the business, which in some ways is a great way to hook into people, because they'll listen to an athlete tell a funny story or a story about their family, and they feel that closer connection to them. So now they want to watch that athlete play. It's all of those things and everything else that we haven't thought of yet that can hopefully attract those fans that maybe aren't watching us today, but could be some of our greatest fans tomorrow.
Well, I love the idea of the mic'd up. I think that's very good for the fan engagement of the game. But we're in Toronto today. This is your headquarters here. The Leafs made a splash a couple weeks ago signing John Tavares. The Raptors traded for Kawhi Leonard. Does that put even more pressure on the Argonauts to put more fans in the seats at beautiful BMO Field?
Yeah, I don't think we're feeling any more pressure, and the pressure that we're both referring to, I think, is a good, healthy pressure. Look, we've had a challenge here, but we believe it can be overcome. First of all, we've got the team, in the hands of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which is one of the great, and without a doubt, world-class sports and entertainment businesses in the world. And the people that I get to work with there who have a vision for Argonaut football and how it fits into the landscape here in the Toronto, in the Toronto area is powerful. So I just think we just keep marching day by day, step by step. We do all of these things. The league contributes as much as we can to helping the teams in all of their markets be successful. And I think one day we're going to wake up and we're going to find that hard work has paid dividends, because it almost always does. That's the really cool thing about hard work. It almost always provides the results that you're hoping for. Oftentimes not as fast as you want. It's like getting in shape. You have to suffer a little bit through those early workouts when your body doesn't feel so good after. But over a period of time, if you stick with it, you generally end up with great results.
Now, speaking of another team entering the league, there's been a lot of talk about a 10th team coming into the CFL. Do you think one day that the Maritime Provinces will have a team in the Canadian Football League?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think that, if you just look at the history of Canada, one of the things that defined us was the National Railway, that the railway ran literally from one side of the country all the way to the other. And you think, well, we have the Canadian Football League, and can we truly feel that our work is done and it's been completed until we've laid our own version of track from from coast to coast? And the opportunity to transform ourselves as a league with that 10th team representing the Atlantic region, all those amazing people. And you think, well, okay, so imagine a Labor Day weekends where you have Edmonton playing Calgary, which is like a check mark. Calgary or Winnipeg playing Saskatchewan, that's a check mark. The classic Hamilton-Toronto series, that's a check mark. Let's play Upper Canada versus Lower Canada, Ottawa versus Montreal, and then let's have the Coast Bowl and have those two teams playing 5 games on a weekend. And I would just pray for rain so I could stay inside and watch all the games. That, to me, is an opportunity that's in front of us. I think would unite the country in a very unique way. That we feel like the Atlantic region could be very much like what we have in Saskatchewan, where the team is literally owned by the people of the entire region, and we see that as a very real possibility. And when I've been out there visiting with people, everywhere you go, the feedback and response to the idea of a CFL team has been overwhelmingly positive.
Well, one more question before I let you go here, Randy. When all is said and done and your time as commissioner is complete, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I can't say that I haven't thought about it. There's no one answer. I said when I started that I wanted to be the biggest fan of the players that any commissioner had ever been. I wanted to be somebody that cheered for these great players that play and be passionately proud of them. And I hope that that'll be a legacy. I hope the players will look back and say that I was somebody that really, really appreciated everything they did for the Canadian Football League. That's one thing for sure. I want to put this league where I think it can be. I'd like to be part of growing it significally, redefining our success through a new standard of fan participation. Maybe it's that 10th team, and maybe, who knows, maybe it's 10, 11, and 12 teams. Who knows if it's not 14 teams at some point. Those things, I think, would be opportunities to create a legacy. It's making sure that every team is strong, that we lean in. One of the things we've been doing is building a strategy here to support the teams in a very profound way. And I'd like that to be part of it, that people that saw who we were before I came say one of the things that was different is that that office lived to serve its teams in a very special and unique way. And then to the fans, I would like to have been the most fan-interactive, fan-friendly commissioner in the history of the game. And that means I'll spend a lot of time visiting fans at the stadiums. I went on a road show this winter and saw almost 4,000 CFL fans in February, and in part because I just get a real kick out of spending time with these amazing people who love our game. And if I could be thought of as one of, if not the most, one of the most fan-friendly, fan-passionate commissioners in the history of sports, not just the CFL, but in the history of sports, then I would consider myself to have accomplished a great deal.
Well, Randy, thank you very much for taking the time again.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I can feel your energy and your passion, and I look forward to watching you run this league in the coming years, and I look forward to watching the rest of the 2018 CFL season unfold.
Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.